So what is a CAD portfolio? I think most of you probably seen one, but the way I look at it, it's a showcase of your knowledge and skills that you can show to a prospective employer. You could even use it if you're going to apply for engineering school or architecture school. You can make that part of your application. And so I hope that what you'll do in this class is take this as an opportunity to reopen all your work and look at it again and think about what it was you were doing, what software, what do those drawings mean, and just kind of prepare yourself with those drawings again to interview for a job or whatever you're going to use these for. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be reviewing them to see how did you do while you were at ACC, because the portfolio is actually how we evaluate our entire program is through student portfolios. So this is important to the faculty as well as it's important to you. And being the department chair, you know, when I review a portfolio, if I see some drawings from a course and they don't look right, there's something, you know, that like the dimensioning isn't correct or something like that, I'll probably ask you about that, but there's also a possibility that I'll go ask the instructor that you had and just make sure that that instructor is teaching the dimensioning the right way or whatever it is that we see. So this is a quality assurance thing for the entire program. And I think it's partly why we it's because reviewing portfolios before students graduate and seeing what our faculty are doing and what our students are doing is a good way to make sure our program's hitting our targets that we want. Okay, so the reason that we require it is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which is our accrediting agency, says we have to have a way to evaluate our program. The Southern Association of Colleges and Schools is called SACS. SACS accredits UT Austin, Texas State, and ACC, and almost all of the good colleges in Texas. The reason why we all use SACS and why we want to be accredited by the same agency is that ensures that work from our college will transfer to another college. All right, so it's kind of how we protect our product here. And so we have to have a capstone course according to SACS where we evaluate how our students are doing. And our faculty in the A&E CAD program and our industry advisory committee made of people from industry decided that a course that required students to prepare a portfolio of their advanced work that could be evaluated by the faculty would be the best way to assess our students and our program and make that our capstone. So you're actually enrolled in the capstone class now, and you have to earn at least a C, as I said, in this course to graduate. So what happens in this is I'm going to try to guide you and help give you feedback on how as you create your portfolio. And so, you know, there won't be any surprises in here. You're going to know whether I like what you're doing or not, because when I look at your work with the midterm portfolio review, and when you check in with me and show me what you're doing, I can give you feedback right away. For your purposes, I think you need to look at creating this portfolio as a tool that you will have, a valuable tool that you can use in job interviews or however you're going to use it. And so I want to tell you about an anecdote. A former student contacted me a couple of months ago, and he graduated from ACC about 8 years ago, and he is a BIM technician, and he's actually worked as a BIM manager, so building information modeling. He's an architectural guy, and he'd worked at several companies and moved up at each job, and he was getting his portfolio together for another job that he had heard about that he really wanted. And so you would think, well, a guy that's been out 8 years and has a professional experience, he would not need his portfolio anymore. But this guy, who was, like I said, an architectural graduate of our program, was actually contacting me to see if I still had a copy of his drafting table project from when he took my Dftg. And for him, he said, I'm trying to put my best foot forward for this new job. And he said, I'm really proud of that drafting table I designed, and I think I should show that in my portfolio. And so you just never know how this thing is going to be used and for how long you may use your portfolio. And one good thing to think about with your portfolio might even be when you get a job is to continue to add to your portfolio if they'll allow you to do that at work. A lot of times they won't allow you to do that, but if you can continue to grow your portfolio, okay? So I made this slide last night, so I want to point out something about this slide. Imagine that this is your degree plan right here. So this could be the civil plan, it could be the electronics CAD plan, it could be mechanical, whichever one you want. And these were the things that were hanging in the hall over there at Northridge that had semester 1, semester 2, and so on like that in there. Everything that you will develop in this portfolio class is going to come out of these classes that you did here. And by that, I want to point out your portfolio is going to come from the projects and drawings that you did in your degree. Your resume is going to list the things that you know how to do in CAD and in technical drawing. All of that is really going to come out of the courses that you did here. Your references are people that can talk about what kind of student you were. Are you a hard worker? Are you good with CAD? All that kind of stuff. And guess what? The best references you can get are going to be probably the former teachers who had you in these courses in your degree. So like if you took SolidWorks from Mark Summers, then Mark Summers is going to be the best guy who can talk to a potential employer about your knowledge with SolidWorks, right? When you prepare for your interviews, you're going to be reviewing the work that you did in these courses here. So everything comes out of the courses that you took at ACC. So they're central to this whole process. So just keep that in mind, how important it's going to be to restore the work from these courses. You're going to be thinking about them when you do your resume, when you do your references, when you get ready for your job interview, not only just your portfolio, okay? So the workflow for getting a C, I've got a checklist. I'm not going to go all the way down this checklist, but this checklist is in Blackboard that talks about how do you create your portfolio, and it starts by making a list of the advanced courses you've taken, make a list of the drawings and projects in those courses, and then creating a rough draft of the portfolio. That rough draft, remember, that's going to be due on June the 12th. So that would be the first thing to work with your portfolio. So if you're a civil CAD major, the courses with the red ellipses around them are the courses that you're going to be using in your portfolio. So I'm not going to read through those. But if you're an architectural major, it's going to be these courses. And like I said, you may not have taken all of those yet, so leave spots for those for the drawings that will come from those courses. If you're mechanical, these are the courses you're going to build your portfolio from. Now, there's also some restricted electives that you guys took, and those can also be included in the portfolio. I just don't know which restricted electives you took. If you're an electronic major, these are the courses you'll build your portfolio from. If you're interdisciplinary, it'll be these. And so all of these are listed in the Module 1, so you can see all these degree plans and see all that stuff. So let me show you what some sample portfolio work may look like. Usually on the first sheet of your portfolio, you're going to have a title page. This is the title page for this woman right here. She was a mechanical major. And so this is, of course, an inventor drawing, and you can see she did something a little bit arty with it. She went from a 3D model to a line drawing, and then she lists the work that you're going to see when you open up her portfolio. Okay, so most of your portfolios are going to have a title page. Here's an architectural title page designed by this woman right here, Allison. Allison actually used her portfolio to get accepted to the UT Austin Masters of Architecture program, and she has actually finished her Masters of Architecture. And this was a part of the portfolio that she prepared to show them over at UT. This is a title sheet from a woman named Samantha Yeager, and Samantha was a civil student, and this was her cover sheet, and she used this drawing that was made, I think, in the visualization course, and then just added some stuff to it. This was all done in PowerPoint. This is set up in PowerPoint, and this is set up in PowerPoint. This is a mechanical title sheet by a guy named Andrew Lee, and he made kind of an arty looking thing, but he brings out that he knows Creo and Mastercam and Inventor and SolidWorks. He even has some photos of a Supra that he owns, a tuner car that he is working on and building himself, and then also he has some 3ds Max stuff in there too. So once you get into the portfolios, here's an example of some sheets from a portfolio. So here we've got some elevations, some floor plans, some Revit details, a wall section. So usually your portfolio is going to start with that title sheet, and then it's going to go to the sheets. Now this would be 4 separate sheets right here that would be 17 by 11. And this is what I'm talking about opening up a Revit drawing, maybe printing it as a PDF, and then using some kind of a snipping tool to snip out the view that you want and drop it into a PowerPoint slide. This is a portfolio, this guy, Philip Eastham, and he has a beautiful portfolio. And I'm also going to share some links to these portfolios so that you can look at them. This is from the commercial class. This is the ground floor of that commercial building. This is elevations from Dftg 1417. And then also Philip made dividers. So I think he started with the commercial architecture, and then he went to MEP, and then I think he went to structural. So this is an example of one of his sheets that what an employer would see right before they turn to the structural stuff. You don't have to have divider pages, but he had those in there. The thing to keep in mind in your portfolio is this, though. If you show one floor plan of that commercial project, for example, I I'm not sure you need to show the second, if it's a two-story, that you need to show a second floor plan, because that drawing or that sheet becomes kind of redundant. So keep that in mind, that you don't want to bore people that are looking at your portfolio by showing them the same types of drawings over and over again. This is sample portfolio pages from a woman named Ashley Monroe. And so you can see how her layout was. She had a 3D model, she has the floor plan, and then she added some text sort of explaining what was going on in each of these slides. But you can see that she's got a similar slide. She has these two lines coming across here. She has her name. So when she set this up, when she set it up in PowerPoint, she created a slide that had those lines and had her name and had a border around it, and then had this stuff down here. And then she copied that slide like 30 or 40 times. So it was blank except for this stuff that she already had on it. And that became her slide template. And then she just started dropping her drawings and stuff into that to create the sheets. Here's sample sheets for a civil portfolio. And this is actually that woman I showed you her cover sheet or title sheet a few minutes ago. Here's some more samples for the civil. Here's some sample mechanical sheets. And more mechanical sheets. And I wanted to show you something. This was kind of interesting. This student who did this sheet right here and did some of these other sheets over here, in fact, all of these sheets, this guy was a student in our program who was going to be a mechanical engineering major. And so all he did was do the courses involved for the CAD CAM certificate. And then he put together a portfolio. And when he transferred to Texas A&M, he took this portfolio with him. When he got to A&M, he found their machine shop, and he went over to the machine shop with his portfolio, and he showed the manager of the machine shop what he knew about CAD and what he knew about CNC from ACC. He wound up getting hired in the machine shop and worked there the whole time he was at Texas A&M. When he graduated from Texas A&M and started going on job interviews, he sent the digital version, his portfolio, and also he had the physical version to go to job interviews with. And right now, his name is James O'Connell. He has a great job with K2 Sports in Seattle, Washington, where he designs like ski equipment and stuff like that. And when I talked to him about it, he said definitely the portfolio is what separated him from the other mechanical engineering students who were interviewing for jobs, because most of them didn't have the CAD experience that he had. So that's how he used his portfolio. This is from Andrew Lee's portfolio, and this is mechanical. What I like is this give you an idea of maybe combining your freehand sketches with your CAD models, and you can do that for architecture or whatever. And so, you can put lots of different drawings or graphics on the same sheet. You can have stuff in the background, and all of that is what your graphic design is about. And so we're going to actually have a tutor whose background is graphic design, and her name is Amber, and she is one of the tutors that you'll have access to. And I'll also give you her ACC email, and you can email Amber, and she can and she can feedback on graphic design and help you with stuff like that. So graphic design can be like the font that you're using, it can be the colors you're using, it can be the design of your sheets, that kind of stuff. So you should take advantage and use Amber. Here's also some portfolio sheets from mechanical, and you can see this one is put together from the Mastercam model. So Mastercam, you don't really print out a drawing, but you can do some screen captures. So that's what this guy did, and you can see the cordless drill design, and then they do a iParts thing where they design custom springs that can be built using a table-driven design. Some more mechanical, excuse me, here's a good example of somebody including their drafting table design into their portfolio. For you IC layout guys, here's a couple of good examples from former students of how they put their IC together. So they have like the schematic, and then they also have the cell design on there, the layout, and then some information about those. And then this is also if you have something from the printed circuit board course. Of course, this was done Cadence Allegro, and this was done using Cadence Virtuoso. And this is from OrCAD, which is that schematic capture program. I think you can include all of those in your portfolio if you're an ECAD guy, electronic CAD. I wanted to show you this slide because this is an example, again, of that graphic design thing. So this student found a background, which was this kind of stormy looking background right here. And then he took the AutoCAD drawing that he created of an elevation in 1417, and he took it into probably Illustrator or something like that, and he reversed it from being black lines to white lines, and then he superimposed it on top of this. He adds his fonts to it, And then he also made a little icon for Revit, and he made an icon for AutoCAD, and he made an icon for Showcase. And so on each slide that he had in his portfolio, it would kind of show the prospective employer what software that he used. So, and then he even scanned his signature and put in here. So he got pretty fancy, but I just wanted to show you how far some students take this. You don't have to take it this far. You know, like one of the best civil portfolios I've ever seen was just nothing but the civil drawings, but they were super crisp. You could read all the text, and they were zoomed in large enough that you could tell what was going on in each drawing. All right, so that's how you make a C, by doing the portfolio. The B is making the CAD resume, and this is going to go a lot faster. There's a checklist for this. Same thing kind of happens in here, though. You list your advanced courses, and then locate the master syllabus for each one of those courses. And then when you open the syllabus, you can look and find the course level learning objectives. The course level learning objectives tell you what software you're going to learn about in the course, and they tell you what kinds of drawings you're going to make and all that kind of stuff like that. And so those are really helpful for making your resume. So if you're a civil major, you're going to pull the master syllabi, probably for all these guys. And there's a link in Module 2 that will take you to all of the master syllabi, so you can look those up. So this is an example of the master syllabi and the learning objectives that are listed for Dftg 2430, which is a civil course. But it's the same for all of our courses. And it tells you in the syllabus everything that you were supposed to learn in that class. Now you can take these things and you can plug those in to a resume, and you can tell somebody, this is what I know how to do, okay? And so you'll see in that module, they'll go into this in more detail. So the final thing there is that you're going to be doing with the reference is the references that go along with the resume, because this is for 7.5 points. The resume is 7.5 points. The references is 7.5 points. There's a step 1, step 2 for creating your references. And again, like I was saying, those are probably going to be people that were your instructors here at ACC. So you're going to want to contact them, because all your references need to be by permission. And so you need to get the permission of the people you want to give as your references, and you need to find their contact information and all that sort of stuff. And like I said, there's a video on creating your references, and you'll want to watch that. That's in Module 3. I just had to check some references last week, and somebody had given us some references, and one of the places I called, I could tell I was talking to was having a little bit of trouble remembering the person I was checking the references for. And that's not a good thing. And that's why you want to contact people before you start your job hunt and say, hey, remember when I took your class a year ago? Would you consider being a reference for me? And if you impress that person, there's a good chance they will. Now, let's say that you took Jeffrey Muhammad's class or Kim Duran's class. You can list them as a professor at Austin Community College, and you can list their ACC number and all that kind of stuff. But you don't want it to look like all of your references are from ACC. So I've got a guy here named Mark Winters. Well, let's imagine that that's actually Mark Summers. Now Mark, he is also a professional engineer. And so instead of listing him as your ACC faculty member, you might say, hey Mark, can I list you as an engineer with Summers Technical Services, which is the name of this company. And so it's a way, so it just makes it where it doesn't look like all your references are from ACC. Okay, interview training for a CAD job. You'll see those steps in Module 4. And there's a checklist here about how you go through that process for interviewing for a CAD job. And of course, we don't have to talk about all this today. And then Module 5 talks about submitting your portfolio, resume references, and proof of job interview activities.